Hello, everyone. Alright, today we have a class on respecting diversity. And diversity is just basically respecting the differences that is each person. We're not all the same, but we all deserve respect. So, and this one is respecting diversity, harassment. So it's mostly harassment on the job. And it comes to sex, religion, and beyond. The main reason I'm doing this is because um, we work together. You know, we work at the park, we work at the senior center, we volunteer together, which is a form of work, though we're not getting paid. Um, there can be harassment there, and so we need to make sure that we recognize forms of harassment and what to do about it when we encounter it. So, let's get started again, but it's based around respecting diversity, respecting other people's beliefs, their thoughts, and everything like that. And for us to be cognizant or aware of it. And so what we'll do is we'll go over a little part here. And so the first part of the class is on this. I will read out some questions after this part. I will also answer them, but I also want you to think about them. And if you have anything that you would like to add to the discussion, please text it to me, text it to the group, WhatsApp it to the group, so that, respecting diversity and diversity itself and the idea of it is, it's not ever changing, but, a lot of times it is something that we can kind of lose sight of sometimes. And sometimes, and actually it is kind of ever changing. Not ever changing, but, it continues to change. And we need to really be looking for that. Looking for the changes that are happening and be willing to open ourselves up to the idea of more diversity. So that will be the first part of the class. And then, of course, we're going to go over what is bullying. And that'll be the second part of the class for today. So question number 1. Does harassment have to be intentional? So it's a yes or no question. Does harassment have to be intentional? Does somebody have to intend to offend somebody? Or can they offend somebody and not know it? So, if the answer was no, it says to give an example of a situation where it is possible that harassment is occurring. So, the answer is no, harassment doesn't have to be intentional. It depends on how a person perceives the behavior of someone else. Even if the intent of the person's behavior was not to cause someone to be uncomfortable, the behavior could still be viewed as offensive or inappropriate for a work setting. So you don't have to intend to harass people. Sometimes, it happens that you're like, well, I didn't mean to be mean, I didn't mean to be, I didn't mean to hurt anybody's feelings. But if you don't think things through all the way, it can be. If you're insensitive to the idea that it could offend somebody or it could be viewed as harassment, then, it depends on the other person's point of view. I'll give kind of an example. I don't want to be too specific in my example, but I felt harassed at a job before, and it was not intentional. The person was not trying to offend me. They weren't trying to harass me. But what they were doing was, and again, this can happen at any time, is they were talking about a coworker in kind of a begrudging manner, and they were doing it on the job. Now, I don't think that their intention was to offend me, but that it's still a coworker. That person was my friend, and I felt harassed, and I didn't know what to do because, in a way, you're kind of stuck in a situation. Like, I was working out in public, and they brought something up, and I was like, well, I don't know how to deal with this. Now, ultimately, it's on me that's the way I view it. Some people might go to a supervisor. For me, I had to wait till my shift was over, but I pulled them aside and I talked to them about it. And I let them know that that they might have certain beliefs, they might have certain thoughts, and they deserve to have them, but what they had to say was offensive. And so I was like, you can't stop you from doing this in the future, but please just don't do it around me. And again, it's a form of harassment. And again, I don't think it was intentional at all. But they really didn't see it the way that I saw it. Okay, so let's move on. To avoid harassment in the workplace, all employees should do what? Number 1, treat everyone with respect. Again, it's kind of the golden rule, treat others the way that you would like to be treated. And, and kind of stick to that rule. Second part is be civil and courteous to everyone. Next is speak up if you experience or witness inappropriate conduct. And again, it's up to you if you decide to confront it head on yourself. And again, we all work together. Or if you feel more comfortable going to a supervisor. And then help in creating an environment where everyone is able to do his or her work best. Number 3. Whose responsibility is it to speak up if mean-spirited, hurtful, insensitive speech or actions occur? And the answer there is everyone has a responsibility to speak up if the environment is making one or more people feel disrespected or uncomfortable. Again, it's not easy to speak up all the time, but it's very important to learn how to do it. If something is offending you, you really should say something. It's important. It's important for not just yourself or the person or other people that might be offended, but it's important for just a positive work environment. Number 4, what are the ways someone can speak up to end disrespectful behavior in the workplace? So it says take leadership and speak up to the person being disrespectful directly and immediately to put an end to the unwanted behavior. And also, if a person is uncomfortable with speaking directly to the coworker, or it had no effect and the behavior continues, speak with a supervisor. So, kind of gone over that. So, number 5, if you do speak with a supervisor about unwanted behavior in the workplace, what should you include? Details regarding exactly what was said, when, to whom, how often, and if you attempted to stop the behavior yourself, and the reaction from the other person. So these are all good things to keep in mind. And I would add to that, do it that day. Don't wait. Do it that day. Some people wait a while, and then what happens is people tend to be like, well, now it's way over, so I'm not going to do anything about it anymore. But you don't know what that other person's going to continue to do if you don't speak up. So I'd say the sooner the better. Alright, number 6. Why might an employee not speak up when witnessing inappropriate behavior in the workplace? So, fear of retaliation, which basically means you are kind of frightened that somebody might retaliate against you. Do something to make your life more difficult because they feel as though you made their life difficult. Fear of not being taken seriously. So maybe you go in and you talk to the person and they're like, whatever. I don't care. It's definitely a reason a lot of people don't speak up. Again, hope behavior will stop on its own. Most of the time, if somebody gets away with something once, they will continue to act in such a manner. Fear of embarrassment. That is something that's important for us all to learn to move past. It's nothing to be embarrassed about to do the right thing. And then fear of being alienated. So fear that that person's not going to talk to you anymore. That person's going to talk to a bunch of other people about you. And people will stop trusting you. But again, doing what is right is the most important thing. So something to remember when you do take the step to speak up and stop unwanted, disrespectful behavior, you are contributing to a more pleasant work environment where people feel respected and valued. Helping to stop the unwanted behavior as quick as possible can help the person making the insensitive, hurtful behavior for more serious consequences such as disciplinary action. Also keep in mind, and this is very true, retaliation is prohibited and illegal. So if you do speak up and somebody does retaliate against you in any way, that is definitely when you need to go to a supervisor and have things documented. Okay. So we're going to answer these following questions. I will read them over. And I will let you know the answer. But it's something that I want you to keep in mind. And that is why I am giving you the answer. And anything that you come up with that helps even more, please say something. Say, oh, there's this, or there's this. So I always say, if you have any either questions or concerns, but usually I say questions or suggestions. If you have any really good suggestions, please let me know. So to maintain an inclusive environment, and inclusive is a good word. Inclusive just means that we include everyone. Exclusive is when it's like, oh no, it's just like a certain amount of people, and then we don't really listen to others. But inclusive means, hey, no, we want to invite everyone. We want it to be a nice place to where everybody feels included. So to maintain an inclusive work environment at work, our workplace behavior should be. So think of 2. I will give you a moment. What 2 things could you do to make an inclusive work environment? working at the park, just even at any activities that we have. Okay, so there's be courteous, and we went over that before. Be professional. Sometimes we cross the line from being professional to joking around too much, and then it hits this unprofessional stage. And of course, be respectful. Respectful of all the things that could be, and if you don't know, if you're like, I'm not sure about this, feel free to ask your staff member. Feel free to ask anybody that you trust. And feel free to ask more than one person. Number 2, workplace harassment could occur in the form of. So think of 2. So how could workplace harassment occur, and in what form? And so this one has a lot. Objects, cartoons, posters, slurs, jokes, offensive emails. I would throw in there being offensive on WhatsApp. Facial or hand gestures, teasing, mimicking, t-shirts, and clothing overall. If you have something that says something offensive on your shirt, you should probably not wear it to work. Okay, number 3. Even if an employee did not intentionally mean to harass, a coworker, something could possibly be considered harassment if, and the if is, an employee perceives it as demeaning, hostile, or harassing in nature. The important aspect is how something is perceived, not necessarily how something is intended. So our perception or thought of it, is very important. And I would throw in there as well, if you didn't intend to hurt somebody's feelings and somebody comes to you and says, hey, what you said hurts my feelings, really listen to that person and be willing to apologize and say, I'm very sorry. I really didn't mean to. I'm sorry. And I will make a change. Not just I'm sorry, but I will make a change. Number 4, one accidental statement or an inappropriate joke is not normally considered harassment. Rather, harassment is usually pervasive and severe. So, sometimes we make a bad joke and it doesn't land and it's not funny. But harassment is when it is definitely intended to hurt that person. And it's severe and it happens. And pervasive means that it continues to happen. So again, we need to make sure that we're looking out for our colleagues, our coworkers, and people we work with to make sure it doesn't continue to happen. Number 5, if a coworker says or does something that you find offensive or objectionable and makes you uncomfortable, you encourage first to, again, it's up to you, to let the person know of your feelings, the negative impact it had on you, that the behavior statement was objectionable and inappropriate. And basically, it's just, let them know. Say, that was kind of crossed the line. I didn't like that. That hurt my feelings very badly. And you don't want to, and a lot of times when people do things like that, don't really want to work with them anymore. So it's best to speak up. Okay, we've got 2 more. Number 6, if you are uncomfortable with the person in the above response, you should, as soon as possible, So, if you're not comfortable letting people know your feelings, then you should submit a written complaint to your supervisor with the details of the defense. Of the offense, not defense. Sorry, the offense. So, put something down in writing, let somebody know, have it documented, document. It should be known that, hey, this is not okay. Number 7, if a coworker lets you know he or she has taken offense to something you said, you should apologize and let the coworker know it will not happen again. So, I went over that already. So, again, let's respect each other and really try to be inclusive and understand that all of us come from different places and have all sorts of different ideas, and and that no matter what, when we're at work, and so we should make sure that we're being respectful when we're there. Okay, so for the next class I will be going over bullying, which again goes along with diversity, because bullying is kind of the ugly end of not respecting other people and being exclusive as opposed to inclusive. But anyway, I'll see you this afternoon for class. All right. Bye.